What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Treasure map is starting tomorrow, so make sure to get your teams prepared for this event. You want to go ahead and get your teams ready to go so that when the event starts, you can jump in and get farming. Now, of course, most people, including myself, are only really going to go until the 10 million treasure point rewards. However, if you are planning on going deeper into the event past those reward thresholds, then you've got to make sure that your team is capable of doing enough damage. Hopefully these teams don't really need much changing. I'll give you guys a rundown exactly how these teams are going to be working. So without further ado, let's jump into things here. The first boss, of course, being Rockstar, and I'm just going to be using a lot of these recommended characters, at least for this fight, because they just kind of work really well. This fight intends you to use Luffy, Zoro, and Nami with level limit break, these free-to-play units, and with these characters with level limit break, you're not going to really have much of an issue at all. They basically handle everything. Sabo is here because he was a free point booster that I didn't have on any other team, so I threw him onto this one. And then I'm using Brook to wave clear the first two stages. Pretty straightforward, no real major changes I think will need to happen for this team. Should work pretty comfortably. Moving on to our second boss is against Yasopp. For this fight, they recommend you to use the free-to-play Sakazuki from the most recent, the PKA last month or whatever it was. Now that unit is good for this event, however I'm using him on another team because he is a relatively high point booster, so I want to get more points on another team later on. So for this one, I'm using Carrot as my captain because we can bypass the damage threshold on the final stage. There is going to be stun on your bottom row, which could be a bit of a problem, but with this team, we're just kind of ignoring it. If it does become an issue, then I'll obviously change and add a support to give me some HP cuts. And then there's also cooldown reduction, special reverse on your middle row, but Carrot with her special just enables us to get the cooldown anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. Luffy can generate some matching slots for us. We also have, he also gives an attack boost as well. And then Dadan and Whitebeard and Ace are kind of just here because they're for point boosts. And then Daifuku is here because he will hopefully allow us to wave clear the first two stages. He definitely will clear stage 2. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to clear the turtles, which is why I have put the support on the Perona support onto Daifuku to give him as much attack as possible. If need be, technically you could invest like some levels to get him to, pierce defense, but I'm not really into doing all that. So we'll see what happens. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll have to shift around. But this is what I'm using so far versus Yasopp. The next fight is up against Lucky Roux. Now, this is the one where they recommend you to use the Super Evolution of Bartholomew Kuma. He basically single-handedly deals with most of the stuff in this quest, but I want to use Kuma on another team later on to get even more points. So unfortunately, we have to run something a little bit different. And if you do intend to use Kuma on like the Shanks fight, then yeah, you will have to go ahead and do something different as well. So I'm going to be using the Memories of Straw Hat's Frankie because his captain ability does allow us to resist blowaway, which is a really cool effect right at the top of that little paragraph there. Crew cannot be blown away by attack, which means that we don't have to worry about the blowaway. Of course, Kuma as a captain will resist that as well. When you kill the Lucky Roux fight, he's going to recover with 10% health and deal a 90% health cut to your crew, and he also makes it so that all slots do less damage and you can only attack with one unit. So my ideology here is to basically use Zorojiro on the revive, use his two specials to basically kill the enemy, because the normal attacks only lasts for one turn. So it means that after the revive, you can use a damage dealing special to get the dub. So that was my thinking moving forward. And then I also have Vista here for the wave clears. Ace and also the lead performers are kind of here just as like beat sticks. Technically, we could shift it around so that we don't really need to use the Sakazuki support on Zoro, but why not, right? Why not just have it there? But I'm pretty sure we don't need it. We could just go ahead and turn that into something else. But at the end of the day, you could also use one Zorojiro special on turn 1, and then on the revive, you can use the second special. But I want to save both specials for the revive just in case we need it. This is going to get to a threshold where it will not work anymore. And when it does get to that, then I'll have to change it around and add a character that can help me do more damage on the revive. But I think for now, at least in the early stages of the content, I think it should be okay. Moving on to the final Battle Rush boss against Ben Beckman. This is the squad that I'm planning on running. So I'm going to be using Ace and Sabo as my two captains. So I'm going to have one captain as Ace, one captain as Sabo. One of them resists 10 turns of Despair. The other one resists 10 turns of Special Bind. when we reach the final stage, we are inflicted with Special Bind and Despair, and those two get inflicted first, so the two captains should remove that. Our captains are also inflicted with Bind, but it does state that the Special Bind and the Despair are inflicted first. As you can see at the top there, Special Bind, then Despair. You get the slot change, and then at the bottom, it does mention 6 turns of Bind to your top row. So with this, the two captains remove all the debuffs, and then the support on Ace and Sabo, the Cornelia and Kotatsu, says that when we reach the final stage, it removes 3 turns of Bind. So with our sockets and that support, we remove all the Bind, and then with the two captains, we remove the Special Bind and the Despair. So captain-wise, it literally deals with everything. We can also use their super switch to get a full board of matching slots as well. So literally, Ace and Sabo captains deal with everything. The rest of the team is just support to that. I do have Opera to wave clear the first 2 stages. We'll see if it is able to clear through the turtles on stage 1. Hopefully that is the case. I do have Luffy support on him to do a little bit more damage, but we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, that's going to be a shame. He's definitely going to be able to clear stage 2 though. And then we also have Izo and Okiku, which we also could use to clear stage 1 as well, because they do a lot of damage, so we'll see what happens. Set target status with Usopp, color affinity with Koala. This team shouldn't really have that many issues at all against this fight. And now we make it to the final boss versus Shanks. I actually did forget to limit break my Crocodile, which I will get to doing right after I record this video. But versus the Shanks fight, we are of course going to be using the new Buggy as our friend captain for this quest. Now, how we're going to get through this is that on stage 2, we're going to use the Crocodile special, and that basically deals with everything. He does get rid of the paralysis, he gives us an orb boosting effect. That's pretty much all we really need to do to get through it pretty comfortably. And then on stage 3, we are going to go ahead and, well, when we reach the final stage, you are inflicted with Special Bind first, and then you're eventually inflicted with Bind to your top left, middle right, and the lower and the lower left. So to be the friend captain, the Kuma position, and the S-Shark position are inflicted with 10 turns of Bind. However, you're also inflicted with 10 turns of Special Bind on the Luffy position, the Croc position, and the Akainu position. However, the way that things will work is that Crocodile, or should I say Buggy's captain ability will activate first. It's going to remove the Special Bind before you're inflicted with that Bind, meaning that you don't need a character on the crew to remove Special Bind, because Buggy's friend captain will enable you to do that. However, you are still inflicted with special reverse mechanics, which is kind of annoying, and I completely overlooked that. But luckily for us, we do have the Sakazuki that is enabling us to remove the special reverse, or he at least deals. He gives everyone -1 turn of cooldown, which is really nice. And with the supports that we have here, we've got the 3 turns of bind removal with Ace support, and the 5 turns of bind removal on Bartholomew Kuma will remove all of the bind that we are inflicted with as soon as we are inflicted with it. So that's so good. We don't even have to use a dedicated special to remove that, meaning that we can just go ahead and comfortably get through this, I feel. The only thing I am kind of worried about is we are inflicted with the pain debuff on stage 2. I'm not too sure how much HP this team is going to have when we're actually in the content. I may have to switch up the ship to another ship that gives us a bit more health to play around with. We'll have to wait and see. Cooldown shouldn't be a problem, so technically speaking, we could use like the Guild Tesoro ship, which gives a 1.4 times HP boost, which is going to give us more HP to play around with, so we don't have to worry about it too much. This should work effectively. Does Sakazuki have a crewmate ability to resist special reverse? He doesn't, but he does have a stage 1. Okay, that actually might be a problem. Okay, so I did some switching around, and this will actually get through it because Sakazuki doesn't have the ability to resist the special reverse. However, we can have Sentomaru, which does have the capability of resisting that, which is quite nice. I think this will be fine for now. The only thing I'm worried about, as I said, is that HP threshold, but I think it will be good, all things considered, especially with the ship giving us a 1.4 times bonus. I think we'll be okay. And then we get to the final intrusion boss versus S-Shark. So once again, we're going to be using Buggy as our friend captain for this fight. When we look into stage 2, we're going to be inflicted with a lot of different debuffs. There's 9 turns of despair, 6 turns of enemy defense, and 6 turns of resilience. There's also going to be some block slots, which is kind of nasty. The way that we're getting around this all, though, is by using the Pacifista special, because he will actually remove despair for us. Then we also have the Crocodile special, which can remove the defense, and it will also poison the enemy. So it technically gets around that resilience, which is quite good. Another thing that we have is we have Dadan. So by using Dadan special, it will change adjacent slots into tandem, which are going to be beneficial to the crew. And of course, with the friend captain Buggy, he's going to have a tandem slot that's going to be matching. Crocodile will have a tandem slot, which will also be matching. And with those 2 slots, it should be more than enough damage to get through stage 2, I would think. And that should work pretty comfortably, I would feel. Moving into the final stage, this is where the Buggy friend captain comes in extremely clutch. Using his super class special and his special gives you the full border strength slots and the ability to remove all that bind. We have the Blackbeard special ability, which will give us a chain boundary, which is fantastic. And then there is a barrier where you need to hit with 2 super bomb slots in order to break through it. This is why the S-Shark free-to-play unit is actually good for this, because his special ability will change character slots on the bottom row into super bomb, meaning that we'll have 2 super bomb slots, 1 on S-Shark, 1 on Pacifista. We tap with those 2 first, it breaks the barrier, and then the rest of the characters can break through and do as much damage as we possibly can. And that's essentially how we're getting through it. We're going to have an attack boost, a very minor attack boost with the Crocodile, with his support of Shiki, and we have a color affinity boost via the Moria support attached to Blackbeard. So that's the whole goal here, is to do as much damage as possible, mainly with the Buggy and the Crocodile. Those are going to be our big damage dealers for this quest. It should get through pretty comfortably, I'd feel. This one feels a lot more comfortable to build for compared to the Shanks fight, but all in all, this is my teams, at least for right now, and hopefully we don't have to make too many changes when the treasure map comes out tomorrow. So that is going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.